Annyeonghaseyo, konnichiwa, magandang araw. This is Johnson, and today I'm gonna talk you through a game that started out as a seemingly small project but now grew to a worldwide phenomenon. A game called Dead by Daylight. Developed by Behavior Interactive, Dead by Daylight is an asymmetrical game where 4 survivors are hunted by one killer. Players can choose which role they play and which specific character they would like to be. A match, also called a trial, can take place in different maps and realms ranging from meat plants, junkyards, abandoned farms, to a maze-like mind control research facility disguised as a generic hospital, among others. But in every trial, certain elements will always be present. 7 generators, 2 exit gates, sacrificial hooks, pallets and windows, and 1 basement. The goal of the survivors is to find and repair 5 out of the 7 generators, with how many still required indicated by the number on the lower left of the screen. After that, open any of the 2 exit gates using the switch beside it. Their locations will be shown briefly when the 5th and final generator has been repaired. Finally, survive with as many survivors possible, all while avoiding the killer. The goal of the killers is to find and sacrifice survivors. While each killer has a unique power, they all share a common basic attack. Survivors start the trial healthy, but when they are found and get hit, they become injured. And if an injured survivor is hit, they get down into the dying state. They can then be picked up by the killer and hung on a sacrificial hook. This must be done to all survivors to prevent them from escaping the trial. When a survivor is hooked, his aura is shown to all other survivors, and his icon is replaced by a hook, with a timer below counting down the time left before getting sacrificed. If a survivor is hooked for the first time, he enters the first sacrificial phase and can choose to do one of 2 things: wait for other survivors to unhook him, or try to unhook himself. But attempting to unhook oneself is highly discouraged, because the chances of successfully doing so is very slim. And every failed attempt significantly depletes the sacrifice timer. 3 things can happen during the first phase. The survivor gets unhooked by another survivor or successfully unhooks oneself, but gets downed and hooked again by the killer. All self-unhook attempts failed, depleting the timer to half. No other survivor performed an unhook in time, causing the timer to reach half. If any of the 3 conditions are met, the survivor enters the second phase. Self-unhooking is no longer possible, and the survivor will have to constantly struggle to stay alive. 3 things can also happen during the second phase. The survivor gets unhooked by another survivor, but gets downed and hooked again by the killer. No other survivor performed an unhook in time, causing the timer to fully deplete. The survivor failed to properly struggle. If any of the 3 conditions are met, the survivor enters the third and final sacrificial phase. For survivors, small mechanics called skill checks may occasionally appear when performing interactions like repairing generators and healing injured survivors. Before the skill check appears, the survivor performing the interaction will hear this sound. The interaction button must be pressed when the red needle reaches the success zone, with a small white area granting bonus progression. Pressing too early or too late will cause the interaction to fail, lose progress, and provide the killer a loud audio and visual notification, giving him knowledge on the location of survivors. Killers can also interact with generators by damaging them. This causes the generator to explode and regress. The regression will only stop when a survivor starts to work on it again. When the killer is nearby, survivors will hear a heartbeat that gets faster and louder as the killer gets closer. Survivors must then decide if they will be stealthy and hide, or try to run away. Wise decisions must be made. Hide for too long, and crows will alert the killer of the survivor's location. Run without a plan, and risk getting caught. First, running creates scratch marks that only killers see and can use to track down survivors. Second, survivors can never outrun killers, as they all move faster than even running survivors. So when a chase begins, survivors must use their environment against the killer, like windows that they can vault quickly while killers take time walking over them. And they can also create temporary barriers by dropping pallets scattered in the map that killers need to destroy to pass through. As survivors fall one by one, their objectives become harder to complete. So when only one survivor remains, a hatch will open at a random location, offering a means of escape. But the survivor must hurry, for if the killer finds it first, he may close the hatch and consequently start the endgame collapse. All exit gates are instantly powered and can be opened regardless of unfinished generators, but the survivor has to do so before the timer ends. Otherwise, each killer has an ability unique to them, like teleportation, ranged attacks, and even invisibility, among others. Both survivors and killers can use perks, items, and offerings to give them a certain advantage in the trial. But these require first-hand experience to fully grasp. Even so, With the knowledge that you earn, you can now venture into the fog and challenge the entity's trials. Will survivors be bold, altruistic, and complete objectives to survive? Or will they fall in the hands of a merciless killer? Will they escape? Or will they be dead by daylight?